All right, guys. Welcome, everybody. Remember that this call is for you guys. Ask your questions or hop on video or audio and ask them live. We'll start with some typical updates and address some questions asked in our form that we post around in the chat. But please, again, just ask your questions because we have the Digital BGA team on this call to help, and we're here for you. So some shout out to the Weekend Warriors. I see Cami in chat right there. I think Cami submitted, probably a dozen cases or so over the weekend, her last weekend of AEP. But 10 of you submitted a total of 23 cases over the weekend. So notable, I don't know if you saw it in chat, but Ben Euler, he stacked 3 level policies on a current client's wife for a total of over $7,500 in premium to get December started off to a hot start. And guys, what I took from that is, number one, don't forget about working your book of business, but also don't assume that seniors all don't have money. Okay, this person just added $620 a month in payments in addition to his coverage. All right, so let's get into some updates real quick. SBLI is now true Social Security billing, so they fixed their billing issue by basically sending the authorization to draft 2 days before the actual payment date. And from spot checking it on our side, it looks fixed. So we checked with SBLI yesterday, and we did some spot checking on our end with some Social Security drafts that were supposed to happen on the 3rd that were drafted on Friday, and all looks good. So we had word that it would that it was fixed, but we wanted to actually see it in production before we said anything. So it is actually working. But additionally, I think I posted this yesterday. In Charlotte, Trent and his team discovered a way to process SBLI payments without having to call in. Okay, so you can process the payments through their payments tab on mysbli.com. If there's an unsuccessful draft, it will become eligible. And all you do is you put a policy number, the client's name, and their zip code. And it'll tell you if it's eligible to process a payment. If the policy is in force and it's paid up, it's going to be ineligible, right? So not everybody's going to show up there. It's only the ones that had an unsuccessful payment. So when you get that email that that there's an unsuccessful payment, that's the way to do it. So call in, get that payment on the phone, and you can process it yourself without having to get into SBLI. All right, so go to the SBLI thread in the community and you'll see a brief walkthrough on how to do this. Yeah, so that's it with SBLI. So 2 great updates for SBLI, and we're close to bringing them back to our call center with these updates. So yeah, we are. Yeah, the next thing I want to talk about here, a few agents have asked this. We got it in the question form as well. And it's been around for a couple of weeks now. Is everyone familiar with the FCC ruling that happened just before Thanksgiving? You guys know about that?
Yeah, I read an article on it.
I can take this one if you want me to, Jeff. I loved this ruling.
Yeah, go for it.
Probably selfishly, but I loved it.
It's big. It's really big for our industry, guys. Yeah, go for it.
So we follow a lot of like TCPA rulings and a lot of like FCC stuff. And God, they called it something. It was like basically the thing that ruined your Thanksgiving in the lead generation business. There was like a kind of like a Black Friday type thing, but basically the FCC dropped a massive update that is really going to drop a lot of like the lead generation. All these companies out there, these aggregators, it's just going to completely destroy them, completely destroy their business models. And it is happening like over the next 6 months. There's like a little duration of time that has to happen. But, we've had some people ask us directly how this is going to impact, digital BGA. And so, we'll address it here, but I'll say, we're going to do a video on this probably in the next couple of weeks on our YouTube channel, but we're really talking to our inner circles on, making sure we understand every angle, because this is a huge thing that's going to impact not only insurance agents, but it's going to impact every other type of sales rep out there, mortgage, all those, types of folks out there. But the short version of it is the FCC is they're closing the lead generator loophole by making it clear that comparison shopping websites like lead aggregator websites must get consumer consent one seller at a time. Okay, so what does that mean? That basically means if you're a lead aggregator and your business model is, hey, I'm going to sell this lead to 20 different sales reps, which is the lead aggregator model, right? Now that lead aggregator actually has to, for all 20 of those people that they sell that lead to, they have to get individual consent. So is a lead generation company going to create a checkbox for Lisa Marie, a checkbox for Ben Euler, a checkbox for Jordan Martin? You see what I'm getting at? Right? They're never going to do that. So that's going to basically drive up the cost of leads, because now they're going to have to sell, more unique and exclusive leads, right? It's going to be rough.
One form, one lead. If they generate something, it can only go to one person moving forward.
Yeah. And so the ruling came down. They have 6 months to adhere to it. So it's going to be quite a process. So over the next 6 months, sales in general is going to be rough from a lead perspective. So it's all, it's going to cut down on all the unwanted calls, all the text messages consumers are getting. There's a lot of reasons why it's a plus. If anybody on this call has filled out an online form and checked that box, they don't really realize that your number is being put on all sorts of different products now. And that's what the FCC is trying to get away from, right? And kill off some of these lead companies. But age leads, that's going to be toast, right? It's going to cripple a lot of agencies out there that are relying on age data to generate live transfers. And even, you can't even like resell leads as B or C leads to agents anymore either, or to other, lead buyers. This ruling is going to completely transform the way they do business, and it's going to cripple all those lead vendors out there as well. So
Nick, if you think about it, all those agencies, those IMOs out there who sell B and C leads, and granted, a lot of it's direct mail. It doesn't apply to direct mail, but the B and C leads are the online ones. Like it puts those programs just completely out of business.
Yeah, it's and unfortunately, the vast majority of agencies out there in our world have no clue about this ruling. They have no clue. We just try to stay on the forefront of, everything phone related, everything advertising related. And this is one of those very, very big things. So to be very clear, and Danny actually said it great in the chat here, that's great for self-generating agents. Yeah, exactly. But we're sitting pretty here, right? So this doesn't really affect us. So digital BGA doesn't affect our TV calls. They're calling us. This doesn't matter, right? And it also doesn't impact TTC leads or those of you that are doing your own self-generation. Because, TTC, as an example, they've got your name, your photo, that's your ad campaign. It's going to you and no one else. That is the opt-in.
Yeah, Nick, I will say this. I do think that with so many agencies needing to find a way to do business, like a new way, that a lot of people will be turned to Facebook. That's what I think will happen. And it may get swamped. I think Facebook may get really swamped by this. Again, it's just what I think may happen here. So there may be an indirect impact on TTC leads. I don't know. But
quite possible. Yeah.
Yeah. But when there's a change, there's always opportunity, guys. So we'll find that opportunity. We'll see how this plays out and what new lead opportunities present themselves there. So I was reading about this before the call, and the rule is going to be finalized on December 13th. And it's going to need to be reviewed and then published, which they expect to be around January, February. So basically, telesales is going to be a lot harder for the rest of the industry in August of next year. And you're going to see a lot of people scrambling leading up to August. So we'll keep an eye out. We're still reading. We're still talking to other agencies, other marketers, other people we know in the business outside of insurance about what this may look like, how people are going to try and get around this. Are there ways around it? We're still trying to figure all that stuff out. But it's all those agencies, all those telesales agencies relying on live transfers, I'm scared for them, because that's how you get most of your data, is you aggregate them and for people who sell it over and over again. So crazy ruling. And I mean, it's good. It's a good ruling. I personally think that's the way it should be. And even when you go out there and buy leads now, they may be more expensive come August of next year, but they're only going to be sold once. to me, this is good for consumers, and this is good for everybody that's doing things on the up and up. So
Totally.
yeah. So next thing, guys, I'm gonna switch gears here. Next thing I wanted to yeah, so Lisa Marie's on this call. So Lisa Marie shared a story with me a couple weeks ago about pushing back on one of our carriers and fighting for a death benefit to get paid out. So I just think this is really important and powerful to hear, because this subject doesn't get touched on enough. Lisa, can you share with everyone kind of what happened in your experience here?
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. All right. So it was an Aetna client, Aetna Ascendo. I wrote the client July of 2022. She passed away in August. So obviously just a little over a year. The son reached out to me, let me know that she passed away. Lovely lady. She took one blood pressure medicine. So I was like, this gonna be easy peasy. You know, it's not going to be an issue. They're going to do their investigation. They're going to pay. Um, and of course, you know, any carrier, it takes a little time. So I knew there was going to be a little time. I had to explain to him what the contestability period was, because he really didn't understand it. He was a little annoyed, and I just figured let's just let it play out. So they needed a few things from him. He sent in the death certificate, probably like a week and a half after she passed away. Come September, I checked on it, because I will call the carrier and I will get as much information as I can, just so I can keep up with it. I send them, you know, wind chimes to the family when they lose a loved one, and a card. So I keep up with the family and the carrier. So then what Aetna does, just in case somebody needs to know this, because I don't know if people know, they will canvass the area where the client lives. So they will send letters requesting, you know, or fax, whatever, requesting any medical records from all facilities around her area that she lived in. And it doesn't matter if she went to that doctor or that facility. They do it with pharmacies.
Crazy.
And once those come back, and they wait for all of that to come back. So if there's like 10 facilities, they have to wait for every one of those to come back before they can move forward. Just an FYI. Then once it all comes back, they investigate, they look at the medical records, and in her medical records, as of November, when they declined the claim, they said she had dementia. I'm like, there's no way. This lady did not have dementia. I did the application with her. She was lovely. She took one blood pressure medicine. Some people lie. So I was like, did this lady lie to me? Did she forget she had dementia? So I pushed on that, and I said, what question was it on the app? They gave me that information. And I said, no, I said, he's going to appeal this. How do we do the appeal process? So they actually gave me the facility that had it in the medical records, the name of the facility, and when it was entered into the medical records. So I had that. So the timeline for that was April of 2022. It was in her medical records. I did the application in July. So think about that for a moment. Then they told me the facility name. So what I did was I reached out to the beneficiary. I gave him all the information that he needs to file the appeal. That day, he got the doctor to write up a letter on letterhead. It was incorrectly put in her medical records. It was the wrong patient. So think about that for a moment. I needed supporting medical records to support the letter, updated medical records that were entered into her records after the fact. So all of that was sent in, and about, I'd say 6 business days later, the appeal was overturned. They paid the rest of the death claim. And that's the part of the business I love. I love that stuff.
Lisa, that is such a crazy story. I think, I mean, the fact that they canvass all the medical facilities,
Yeah.
like in the area too, to me,
Yeah.
I didn't know they did that.
I knew that the first time I had a death claim with them, it was like, why is this taking so long? And really, everybody gets mad at the carrier. It's not the carrier's fault 90% of the time, because they're waiting on the facilities to do their job. So if they're not getting the information in a timely manner, some facilities just let it fall. They don't care because it's not their family member. Excuse me. So, sorry.
That's a great story. Great,
Yeah,
great
I mean,
story.
And it's not really fair to the beneficiary. And most of them don't understand and they get really annoyed at us. But it really, a lot of it's out of our hands. There's nothing really much you could do. But Aetna, I think out of all the carriers that I've dealt with, I do like the process that they do because they will update the agent. They'll let you know, okay, well, 5 facilities were requested medical records and 3 of them got back. We're still waiting on this one, or we're still waiting on that one. So that way you can go back to the beneficiary and let them know, okay, this is what we're waiting on. And I'd say most times they understand, but they're frustrated. This particular beneficiary, he gave me a little bit of a hard time. He was annoyed. But when it all got, fixed, he was fine. So I'm just really, really pleased with how it works. And we don't talk about it enough. So I really wanted to let let you know.
I wasn't aware that you sent out a wind chime. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's such a beautiful little simple thing. I don't like flowers. I think flowers are stupid. I tell Danny all the time, don't like it, they die. Like, why would I want that? So don't give me flowers. If you want to do something, fill up my gas tank, do something like that. That's what I love. But for our clients, when they have a loved one pass away, we're with them from the application, birthdays, holidays, policy reviews. Why wouldn't we be with them when they lose their loved one? So I like to send the wind chime so that way they always have that. That's not going to go away. That's
Very
not going
cool.
to die. Every time they look at that, every time the wind blows, they're thinking of their loved one.
That's
that's
awesome.
really thoughtful, super thoughtful. That's one of the coolest things I've heard somebody do when somebody passes away for their clients. Like that is really special.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have a claims story or a process that they go through that they want to talk about?
I mean, the whole, I mean, just the whole idea, guys, from Lisa Marie's story is that push back, right? If you think something's going wrong, a lot of agents, will get, a lot of agents would have had that decision made that, hey, it's a death, it's getting denied, the death claim is getting
Yeah.
denied, and they'll just take it like, oh, I'm sorry,
I can't sit down and just do that. Like, and Danny did, he doesn't realize a lot of that kind of stuff. I don't tell him like why he's working and stuff. So this has been going on since August. I went running into his office so excited when I got the decision. And he was like, he had no idea it was, going on because, that's the stuff that I take care of. I was so excited that I couldn't even work the rest of the day. I was like smiling all day. I was like, oh, I'm so happy because that's the part that I love. I love to help people. I love to fix things. And it, I, to me, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, why be doing what you're doing if you're not going to do that? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And Lisa, there's no money in that for you. You know what I mean? You're doing it because you care. And even after they passed on, your client passed on, and now you're taking care of the beneficiary that they named, right?
Yeah.
And to me, that's that conviction that we talk about in this business. And it's not just after you sell a policy, like if you build these relationships, these people, and you want to do what's right, and you push back on the insurance company. And like you said, I love that you said this, that it wasn't Aetna's fault, right? It wasn't Aetna that was denying the claim. They're just going off the information that they were given.
Yeah.
So that's a great takeaway from it as well.
I had one other quick story. It was also in Aetna. It was mother and son both had policies with me, both with Aetna. The son reached out to me first. He was a random call-in. Took care of him. He's like, you know what? I want something for my mom. Got her on the phone, did her application. She passed away. She was past the contestability period, so that one was fine. He reached out to me, and they were just buying their first home. They were living in an apartment for a long time, and he was able to. He was a truck driver, I think, if I remember correctly. Just bought a home to surprise his mom, and she was going to move into this home. And that at that point, this was over a year ago, that's when I thought of the wind chimes, because like, what can I give him for his new home and have his mom there with him? And that's Nick, that's how the wind chimes came about.
Love it. Love it. Lisa, thanks for sharing that. Appreciate you
You're
coming on
welcome.
and sharing that. When I heard that story and you sent it to me like the day before Thanksgiving or so, and I thought about it again the next week, and I'm like, gosh, that is such a powerful story, because I heard it, I remember it from the week before, and I was like, all right, I got to get you on here to share that, because it is in essence what you do. Like, you're one of the advocates. You advocate for your clients, and I think that's a very powerful thing, especially as we started talking about on the YouTube channel about what we do as agents. Like, we make an impact. You made an impact on this family,
Thank
so
you. I appreciate that.
all right, guys, we'll get into a couple more updates here. So no updates on leads. TV calls should come down in price Monday next week. We don't want to give you a specific date, but as soon as we see the dip, of our calls coming down, which hopefully happens on Friday because AEP ends on Thursday, then we'll bring the prices down. But I remember last year that it took a few days after AEP for it to come down, if I remember correctly. So I don't want to give a specific date, but as soon as we see it, we'll bring down those lead prices for the TV call-ins. Okay. And then as far as the script, okay, we'll be releasing the new script on Friday of this week. And I'll be taking the coffee with the coaches slot. I took it away from Brian. Hope you're okay with that, Brian. And I'm going to run through the script with everyone, explain why we say what we're saying, and answer any questions. At the end of the call, we'll post a link to download the script. If you can't make that, we'll be recording a more formal video running through it that we'll post in the community that following week. So does anybody have any questions about anything else? Because that's all the updates that we have here.
Hey, Jeff, I would like to add about the death claims, if you don't mind. As you know, my dad passed away last October, and it's so much more than just the insurance company too. Those death certificates, everyone wants them. The banks, DMV. I mean, you name it, they want a copy of it, and you can't get it until the medical physician of where the person passed away, like it was in a nursing home or a coroner at the house or something, actually signs away that person did pass away and the cause of it, and then that's sent over to the county, and then the county has to approve it, and then that's where you get those death certificates. So if you know a little more about the process to help your clients, it'd be a huge thing for them.
I'm going to add to that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So it's very important when you're doing an application to be very transparent and very clear. Okay, there's the contestability period, there's a waiting period. They're two different things. And I make sure I learned this lesson a long time ago, to be transparent regarding the difference and what to expect for the beneficiary. If you're upfront and let them know that, it's going to be, let's say, 48 to 72 hours once the carrier receives the death certificate. Because in their mind, if you say, oh, within a 48-hour period or whatever, they're thinking of the person's passing. So you have to really stress, once the carrier receives the death certificate, they will begin the death claim process.
Exactly.
That it's a process, because again, they don't know. Now let's say, Miss Mary, she passes away, her family doesn't know. So they have to re-explain it to the family, just in case the insurer didn't tell them, what to expect. But I think it's very clear, your wording has to be, once they receive the death certificate, they'll begin the death claim process.
And that's not going to be the same day. It takes a process to get that. And I was lucky, I was in a smaller county in North Carolina at the beach, and just called them up, and they issued to me right away, I think the following day or two.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't happen in the bigger city at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Good stuff, guys.
yeah, man, I just do a Google search on it.
Yeah, and you know, and that's one of the things too that these funeral concierge plans like Sequoia, they'll help you with that, you know, and that's a big added benefit when, you know, like what Lisa was saying, like you first of all, when somebody dies, they don't know how to get a death certificate, right? I'm sure they can go Google it and ask friends and whatnot, but you also have Sequoia to call and they'll help you do it, or, you know, any other funeral concierge plans out there. And that's a big selling point. And, you know, as soon as we get our funeral concierge plan, iFuneral Concierge, up and going, like that's going to be a staple in our script is selling on that, because it's one thing to, you know, to let people know that their family's covered, but by law, and this is, you guys are going to see this in the new script, by the way, by law, insurance companies have 6 months to pay a death claim. They have 6 months to do it. That is in our script. We asked that question. Did you know this? Well, our carriers, is what we put in the script. So we're separating ourselves from other carriers, other agencies by doing that, because that is a real thing. So, you know, they need to be educated on it as well. So
I have a heads up, the death certificates, Brian, because I did that for years at the hospital I worked at. I was the one typing them up. So I have a little knowledge, but most people, like you said, they don't realize,
It's
you know,
overwhelming.
yeah. And then if the doctor doesn't sign it correctly, I have to redo the whole thing. So there's always something that's going to delay something else if it's not
Yeah.
done correctly. So it's very interesting. You know, and this was all, I know all this stuff because it's a lesson learned from a time before. That's why I said I'm going to educate myself on all the processes. So I
Yeah.
think
The
that's,
Sequoia is going to be golden. It's huge. That's so important, folks. I'm telling you, having someone there to help you, it's overwhelming. And having them there, you've got to sell that product. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge.
Lisa, if I can ask, as you take a sip of coffee here. So Braden asked this question, and I want to ask you this question. Is it important to tell every client about the contestability period on every sale?
I believe so. Especially if they're asking, you have to talk about it. But I will explain to them the contestability period, and some of them will get confused as to, well, is this a waiting period? I explain the difference between the two, and Danny taught me, you know, to do it that way, so they don't think this is like, you know, a guaranteed issue type of policy. So exactly what the contestability period is, I do. That's just me, only because I want to be very clear with them so they know what to expect from beginning to end for their family.
Yeah.
I don't know if Danny will disagree with that.
Yeah, it looks like if they ask is the general consensus.
Yeah.
If somebody asks about, you know, when payouts happen, right? Well, if it's
Yeah.
within the 2-year contestability period, we all know it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
But after the 2-year contestability period, we know that if they get the death certificate, it's probably going to be within a week.
Yeah.
So
And the you have to express the carrier has the right to contest the policy within the first 2 years. And
Right.
that's any insurance carrier, any product nationwide. It doesn't matter who you are, the state, the carrier, the product. And they're usually, I mean, I've never had anybody give me a hard time. You know.
Same with an we did an annuity, the same thing, same paperwork, same type of circumstance. They treat it just like a life insurance policy. So have your ducks in a row and have everything in order, or they're not going to pay it out.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys, we're at the top of the hour. And that was a great discussion. Lisa, thanks for coming on and sharing your story. And we'll do the script training on Friday, guys, with the new script, and we'll get that out to you. And yeah, hopefully you guys like it. We'll see you then.